The European group, I suppose, that you mentioned, you and Woozy and Lyle and Lango and Seve, do you think that was kind of the start of the dominance of European golf that we're seeing today?
Well, it was. That was thanks to dear Seve. He went to America. He wins the Masters. He won the Masters at 23, and that was the classic case of, well, I play against Seve every other week. I can get my moments with him. I can beat him or whatever. And so when we all went to Augusta, because for European guys to win at Augusta doesn't make sense. It's super fast, super rolling green. Nothing compares to it in Europe at all. And yet we went there and somehow we managed to dominate the Masters. And then at the same time, it was great to be part of that transition from 83, 85, 87, the 80s of the Ryder Cups, even the 90s, early 90s. That run that we were all in together was a really great, special time as well. That really forged the European Tour.
Yeah.
And it changed. Yeah, I think it did its bit for, especially you include, as I said, Greg and Nicky Price. There was a time when I think we were 8 out of the top 10 were European. The rest of the world were the best in the world. So that was in the early 90s, and then obviously America's had its dominance, and now it's swung back again. Like it does. 20-odd year cycles.
Yeah.
And global golf is dominant right now.
And we see this, we've mentioned the number one. There is a current battle that's brewing. Luke Donald's at the top at the moment. But in terms of your major win at the Masters in 96, that is the last time we've had an Englishman win a major championship. Who do you think could be our next? There's two obvious choices.
Well, it's been the hardest thing in the world to predict a major now, because look what's been happening. When the press guy says, I'm not doing any shows or any prediction shows, what a waste of time. I quite agree, because I sit there, after what happened a couple of years ago, when you get Lucas Glover and Wei Yang win, and then you get McDowell the next year, and then you get Keimer, all these sort of things, and then this year, again, you get names that. So it's funny, when I started the season at the beginning of the year, I thought, okay, now let's go and have a look at the Masters, at that list. And I had to go down to, I had 40 players where I thought, you go, well, if his game's on, most of the time he hasn't quite got the game, or he hasn't quite mentally got it. But you go back. But if it was his week, could he do it? And you have to go, well, yeah. Okay. And so you give him a tick. And actually, I had 40 guys. At least Schwarzer was in my top 20 guys. So I even got Keegan Bradley in the last one. Again, as a dark horse. I said, look, the way things are happening, you have to include a kid like that.
Yeah.
You always have your top 6 or 10 where you think it should theory happen in that group. Yeah. But you've got to then look outside. So that's what's been happening in the world of golf, and it's probably going to continue. It's a real tough. I was thinking, what player is going to be the next guy? We always talk, of course, can Tiger win 5 more to beat Jack? But then you think, right now, what player in the world could actually win 5 majors? Yeah. Because the depth is so massive. And so, maybe a 1 or 2 major wins is as good as it gets for a while, maybe for the next decade. I don't know, until somebody else comes out and wins 3, 4 or 5 or 6. Exactly.
There are so many up there at the moment. You have just touched on Tiger. Just to bring him up briefly, he obviously dominated for so long those rankings and the majors. And obviously he's gone through and is going through a very tough time. Can you see him return to the form that we once saw?
No, he won't. I personally don't think he's going to come back to the dominant form, because it's just 2 years have gone on now, 2 seasons. Tiger's, as we know, he's gone backwards in many ways. He's still dealing with a golf swing, his love for the game of golf. Obviously, still stuff. I mean, what happened off the golf course? I know from my own personal experiences of, I went through divorce. I changed. I wanted to start to become a businessman. Looking after my own affairs. Once your mind, I was the first guy to start saying, once your mind has gone from that wonderful serenity, going to the practice ground on your own as a golfer, tipping out your balls and belting balls all day long. For us, as golfers, the most wonderful thing. But that was shattered. Completely, his world was shattered from, I'm sure he had people in his ear, phones going, lawyers, whatever. That is gone. His concentration has been probably irreparably damaged whether we can get that back again, I don't know. Meanwhile, everybody else has recognised this, and they've just gone whoosh. And they've gone charging forward, and they haven't come forward in one at a time. Now they're coming as a dozen. That's another thing that's changed. And you've got real good quality. Adam Scott's come out of his shell. And you've got new golfers like Jason Day. Keegan Bradley's definitely a serious talent. And then there's other guys hidden in there as well. So, as I said, there's a dozen. And unfortunately, Tiger's seen it. At the Masters, Tiger got in the frame, and in the past, Tiger would have whizzed through and everybody would have fallen over. And they said, excuse me, we're going that way, and if you sit still, mate, which he did, he sat at 10 under, and everybody went to whatever, 14, 13s and 12s.
Yeah.
And that was a great example of, hey, we're all right. We know you've got a lot going on. We know you've got to deal with your life, but I'll worry about my life here now.
Yeah.
And I think that is one of the biggest changes. And then there's still questions with Tiger. The biggest one for me was... what's his desire for the game of golf right now? He had an opportunity to play Greensboro prior to the FedEx Cup to play. Ernie Els did it. There's a good example. Ernie said, right, through pride, hey, I want to make the Fed. I want to keep playing. So he scraped it. And
how well's he done?
Yeah, and he's in there. Tiger could have done exactly that. But Tiger, for whatever reasons, more than likely because of the swing, fed up with golf, he's just not hitting the golf ball how he wants to hit it. There's a lot of frustration. He decides, had enough with that, and looking at another date, or maybe he's doing what I'm saying. Maybe he thought I need quality time to disappear to rebuild it properly so I can come back out. Maybe he's going through. Tiger keeps everything close to his chest. We have to guess.
Yeah.
We won't get an official word on anything.
There must be a lot of pride that's lost when you have such a public demise, like he's gone through. Yeah.
I mean, that was another thing. He's very, very sensitive guy. If you critique his golf swing, you get. I've been off his Christmas card list ever since. And to globally humiliate yourself. I mean, that was pretty tough to then come back out, because golf is a very, camera in your face. You can't put a crash helmet on and hide.
He did wear sunglasses for a while though. Hay fever.
Yeah, but that's still it's not going to work. Especially when you can hear what people say behind your back. You haven't got an engine to drown anything out. Yeah.
Before we just leave the Tiger point, then, what do you make of this, quite controversial pick then of Fred Couples for the President's Cup?
I'm sure Freddie and Tiger are talking, but personally, very surprised at that one, because he hasn't even got the reps, as Tiger calls it. He hasn't even got the rounds under the belt of playing really good golf. It's match play, and Tiger has a tendency, which we've seen even in the Ryder Cups. If he blocks a couple of tee shots left or right, it inspires your opponent straight away. That's what match play is all about. If you stay on the first tee and carve one in the water, which he did at the K Club, the boost to the team is enormous. So he's on a knife edge of, if Tiger performs, it really will boost the team. But as we saw in the Ryder Cups, they put a lot of pressure on him to perform, and if he didn't, it saps the whole team. So I'm surprised that Freddie would take that risk. And there's plenty of guys who are on form. Tiger is basically not on form. So we shall see.
But just before, sorry, I will leave this Tiger subject. Another thing, thoughts cropped up. How much, though, do you think Tiger does still have the wow factor, and still to have him in your team will still draw in maybe those bigger crowds?
Oh, definitely, it definitely does that.
Yeah.
On TV, the first thing, it was very interesting. The first comment from one of my TV colleagues was, "Oh, great for ratings." Oh, hang on a minute. What about the team and points? It's the most, So, of course, he's going to have it. He'll have that to the day he doesn't come back on a golf course.
Yeah.
People will, out of interest, want to see just see what Tiger's up to. But if you want him on his team to hopefully give you a couple of points, we will see. He's under a lot of pressure as well to make that happen.
He is. We'll wait and see. Anyway, so to leave that alone, we've spoken about a few big names. Who I'm intrigued to know was your golfing idol growing up?
Well, Jack Nicklaus was the one who inspired me, watching first time on TV. And then I then played with Jack. The next light bulb moment, I played with Jack in San Diego, and he shot 63, and I shot 71, which felt like 81. And I came back and I thought, how did he do that? Because It was a piece of cake. It didn't look impressive. It just happened. And then I worked out this shot-making thing, you know, how the flag's in the back left corner, he'd fire it in the middle of the green, and it just tipped towards the flag. If it was the other side, it tipped the other way. So it was all, and I thought, so this was early days of thinking, right, you know, I need to see if I can do that. And having that ability to work the golf ball both ways. So that was pretty inspiring, and it was right at that stage of, I'm sure that was 83 or 84, that must have been the time when I thought, okay, I've got to then go away and rebuild and be able to do that. So he was really Was
he also, sorry to interrupt, best player you've ever played with?
Well, yes. He played with Jack in a couple of the majors, obviously 90. Yeah, I would have to say yes, because he was in that era. I mean, I played with Tiger, of course, when but it was a totally different game. But you played, even Seve had his moments. There was some rounds that I played with Seve, which was special, and even Greg as well. I mean, to be honest,
you can't pick one out.
Yeah, you can't. You know, when a guy's really on, I have great respect for everyone. You know, you're trying to play them, you're trying to beat them. It inspires you, and we all were totally different characters, which was pretty cool. And, you know, I can remember, you know, battling with all those guys, and whether I won or lost, there was something about it that was special.
So you mentioned Seve, we touched on that earlier. Obviously, the world sadly lost him earlier this year. It's the Seve Trophy coming up this weekend. You've won that as a captain, I think, in '97. Is it a fitting tribute to him, do you think, that event, the kind of the team match play style of it?
Well, very match play, especially match play. You know, I think the tributes for Seve have been really, really nice. I mean, the fact that guys made the effort and wore the navy blue, all those sort of things. He's sadly. It was a sad demise for his career because he was something special. So I'm sure anything we do to honour Seve is the right thing to do.